Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode number 88. Argentina just happened, and if you haven't watched the race, turn this off and go watch it first. MotoGP was insane. It rained. It didn't rain. There was a lot of shit that happened. I don't even know how we're going to get through all of this. Obviously, we got some crazy stuff in qualifying to talk about. Marquez and Dorna kind of both broke the rules. A lot of penalties were handing out. Let's get this thing moving.
All that's cool and all, Rob, but don't let that distract you from the fact that in 2016, a Crack Commando podcast unit was banned from Facebook for a crime they didn't commit. They promptly escaped that unjustified banning and relocated to the California underground, where there they exist as podcasters of fortune. If you can find them and you can listen to them and you want to sponsor them, you also could be part of the B Team. Dun, 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 dun. That is Rob, and Everett's below me. I am Kev, and alternate Kev too, and maybe we'll see douchebag Rob. Boom! Sup, fuckers? We're here. Shit's about to go down.
Ev, how you feeling about that?
Whew, I liked it. That was impromptu. I didn't expect that.
My favorite part is that he knows those all those words like by heart. Like he doesn't even have to practice it. He just pulls that out.
Yeah, doesn't have to practice. Just pulls out title Rob sex tape.
I've said this many times. Kevin is an artistic genius in his own right.
It is in his own right. I feel like in many rights. In many rights. Oh man. All right, guys. As you see, if you're watching on YouTube with this awesome banner right behind me, this podcast is brought to you by Riders Law. They are very happy with how many episodes they're making these days, and they love all the promotion they're getting.
Especially when Dr. Dre opens. They love that shit.
Wow.
If you've been watching my Instagram, actually, you would notice that a certain Sai, one of the primary lawyers at Riders Law, actually won 2 of his club races this weekend.
Oh shit!
So those are the kind of lawyers that you get if you call Riders Law and you need legal help. So you're in the state of California, you're not in the state of California, you're visiting California, you get into an accident, you live in Chicago, call Riders Law. They will help you out. They help out the motorcycle community as a whole. They help out us. They will help you make sure that you get back to 100% if anything happens to you on the street. So please give Riders Law a call. That is Riders Law with a Z. But all right.
Let's say at a track day, you accidentally stall your bike and then you run it backwards on the grid. And then you run into 3 or 4 guys, you knock a couple of guys off. You're not really sure what happens. And they all kind of start to sue you. Call Riders Law. They'll represent you. They'll get you going.
But not if you.
Oh boy! dig. Let's just go there.
Yeah. Wow. So, like I said in the very beginning of this episode,
a little known fact is that Aron Canet is represented by Sai from Riders Law. He has him on retainer. Nobody works in this town, Ev, without a retainer.
No, you gotta have a retainer. Who are you represented by?
It's Southern California.
It's Southern California. Do you have a booking agent?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if Rob got
what I'm saying is that here for 2 now, your chances of hiring me have substantially increased if I had, say, $200 in my pocket.
In my pocket. Cash.
No, you lost me. Someone please tell me the reference. Please.
Oh my God, you don't know Goodwill Hunting? Like, dude.
No, I lost it.
Goodwill Hunting.
The other one was Swingers. That one was Goodwill Hunting. Oh boy.
God, you just I mixed them up. Whatever. We're moving on. We're moving on to motorcycle racing.
You youngins in a different era. We'll get you up to speed. I know what to get you for Christmas or your birthday or some shit.
Exactly. The complete A-Team first season on fucking VHS.
Oh, I would like to enjoy that.
Betamax, son.
My birthday is in May.
Yeah, but we're going to have to go to fucking Goodwill and find a VHS player.
Right.
What, a VCR, I mean. A VCR VHS player. Yeah. What am I talking about?
Moving
on. All right, let's talk about actual motorcycle racing. So the first thing that I want to bring up was the general start of the Shenanigans was actually in qualifying. Right? We had a somewhat dry Friday. Saturday started out wet but sort of mixed conditions.
Moist.
Moist. And then we get Jack Miller on pole position.
Slippery and moist.
Slippery, just conditions. Weird conditions.
Someone say it, please. Title the Rob sex tape.
Yeah,
please.
exactly.
Please, thank you.
Moist and
right.
slippery conditions.
So
That
Jack
was
Miller, he was the only one that set an actual fast time on slicks. Mark Marquez and Cal Crutchlow both went out on slicks early in the Q2 session, but they bailed on them, and that's kind of interesting to see because
Fucking
Marquez usually has the
bitched out.
balls. Yeah, totally bitched out. So run with it for me. Let's hit up Jack Miller.
Shocker.
Yeah, Jack Miller fucking goes on the slicks. He's running around like turns 7 and 8 are like the rest of the track at dry lines kind of appeared, all that stuff. But 7 and 8 are soaked, right? I mean, they are soaked at the fucking panties when fucking Rob walks by with his shirt off and his hair down. You know what I'm saying? Chicks are just
Wringing them out.
Just wringing them out. It's a clang all over that, right? It's just a clack, and right, and it's going, and it's just soaking wet.
What is
and
that noise?
Clack? I don't know, but I don't know what I'm saying.
We don't have a sound effects crew, Rob.
We need that guy. Yeah, exactly. So if you want to join the fucking Broto Underground as it exists at Podcast,
we need a sound
you're a
engineer.
soundboard guy.
Yeah, we pay nothing. We don't pay.
Actually, you
pro
have
bono.
to pay. Realistically,
You pay us. You pay Kevin in
it's a
Argentina
net
wine.
negative right now.
All right. What do you get
so
back
anyways,
on topic?
back to super moist, turn 7 and 8, and Miller just literally full send, right? Like he even says that he had to clean his pants after that for some of those moments. The fucking dude went out like a boss and just said, look, I'm gonna get the tires so fucking hot they're gonna be sticky like glue, and he's gonna fly right through the wet. He's not gonna hydroplane. And the number of moments he had on that last lap, he started the last lap with just a handful of seconds on the clock, and that was it. And he disposes Dani Pedrosa, which is not this fucking only time Dani Pedrosa is going to get disposed in this race weekend.
like a tampon applicator.
You know what?
You know what, though?
Forgotten.
You know what, though?
Forgotten.
You know what, though? I will say, you know what? It never ceases to amaze me how qualifying can always come down to that last lap when the flags dropped. You get one last one, and they pulled off more times than not. I mean, how many qualifyings do we have there actually? Oh, they set the first session where everyone goes out. Somebody sets the qualifying time. They do this, and this one was so great because most everyone was done, and they're like, Jack Miller's still on the circuit. And you're just watching it, and then fucking he does it.
But his transponder was busted.
Right,
Actually, we're not seeing his sector times. So honestly, I thought he had crashed because he didn't come up in sector 1.
I thought he pulled up.
Not only was his transponder not working, but on the fucking feed, it said he only had a rear tire. That motherfucker set that time with no front tire. Fucking, he was just monoed up. That's the secret. He didn't lose the front braking because the front wasn't there. But for reals, that happened, I know, because I had multiple people screenshot it and send it to me.
Kev, that's that new... That's the new tire technology.
Right, the new tire technology doesn't have to, it was fucking horrible. But the crazy thing was, it's like we were saying, right, Cal and Mark went out and then bailed on it, but Miller just full committed. You know what I mean? Like he literally was going to get his nut and no one was going to stop it. And he just went 100% like 4 laps straight waiting to get it. And the last fucking second, he was able to put it through. I mean, he was just going to fucking get pole or crash out spectacularly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And it took him 4 laps to figure out how much time he needed to make up in those other sectors to make up for it. Because he lost 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was 1.8 seconds that I read in one sector,
Exactly. So he'd come into after the first 2 sectors with 2 seconds up, and then he'd lose 1.8, and then he'd have to make up the rest of it in the 4th sector. No, it was amazing riding. It was great that he put it through there and actually pulled it off. I was a tiny bit sad for Dani Pedrosa because I want to see a little revival out of him, but for Jack to do it,
no, bro.
Done.
Get bro out of here.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
Who's the backfield? That's a whole different episode in of itself. But no Dani.
I was stoked, and it's funny too because I kind of was like not hating on Jack Miller going to Ducati, but I was sort of like joking about the fans that think he's going to be this revelation. Because rarely do these guys do well on these year-old Ducati bikes, non-Italian. But you know what?
Hey, Kev, wait, real quick. Let's play a game. It's called word association. I'm going to say a word. I'm going to say revelation.
All right.
Go.
You're gonna say revelation?
Yeah, it's not gonna be Jack Miller that you're gonna associate that with.
Fucking Jesus, I don't know. Me, wow, I'm lost here a little bit.
Jack Miller's gonna be a revelation. Jack Miller's gonna be a revelation. Like who? That's nuts. That's crazy talk.
Fucking Reddit is obsessed with Miller on that Ducati. All I'm saying is I've never been happier to be wrong, except for on our preview episode when I said this season was going to suck and be boring. Because that ain't
wrong at all. Shit, dude. Who would have ever guessed?
Right.
What we're going to get into.
Well, we're only 2 rounds in, but actually, you know what? I skipped something. I skipped something from before qualifying. Qualifying.
Yeah.
Let's talk about.
I don't even have the syllabus in front of me, and I knew you skipped it. But you said audible as much as I want.
Yeah, let's talk about some fuckery in the lower classes here. So I want to bring up Aron Canet because I feel like this is foreshadowing for how entire the whole weekend went, right? So Aron Canet in one of the practice sessions gets into it with essentially an also ran in Moto3. And what does he do? They get together, he tracks him down, veers across the track, and just takes out his front tire.
And himself out. He just fucking kamikazed the dude.
Terrible. Right. Like, what the...
It was fucking terribly awesome. It was dope because they did nothing. They said, you know what? You're a young guy. You're a hot shot with a lot of backing. So we're going to set the precedent by saying when you randomly run into people and cause accidents in the middle of practice because your butt hurt at a guy like cutting off in a turn, that's cool. No problem. It's almost like these guys are basically teenagers raised in a consequence-free environment, totally insulated from the world and from any actual responsibility, and surrounded by yes men who make a ton of money off of their fucking what they do. Oh, wait a minute.
Wait, that's exactly what's happening.
Right.
Fucking A. Yeah, so Aron Canet, unlike Marc Marquez at Valencia many years ago in Moto2, when he took out someone's front tire just for no reason whatsoever, Aron Canet's incident was ruled a racing incident, and he has received no penalty, as Kevin said.
Right, and the best part is the fucking team's release was like he was involved in an altercation, like he didn't completely instigate it. You know what I mean? God damn, the teams are they just try to slip those 3-star reviews in there so we don't notice. But this is full on 1-star review for Aron Canet. Right. Like all the announcers, everyone that actually watched the incident knows what the fuck is going on. And Dorna lost a lot of points early on in the weekend for that shit. Yeah, but then we keep moving. Ev, is there anything you want to say about Aron Canet? You look so pensive.
I honestly didn't see the Moto3 stuff. I had a busy weekend, so I was trying to find a video. But
in case you guys don't know, he's a busy businessman who's busy doing business.
the irony is it had nothing to do with that. It was more about the wifey and birthday weekend.
Oh shit!
But
he is also currently in a hotel room, so hopefully the wifey stuff went well.
Yes, because he is recording.
Yes. I'm here for work for 3 days for what we call a QBR. It's a quarterly business review. You go over what you're gonna do for your
I'm already asleep. I'm already.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kev can't even make it through a Rob's tech tape. There's no way he's gonna make it through you talking about QBR.
Oh god, I can barely make it through a QBR. Jesus. Or fucking watching paint dry, dude. Straight up.
Hopefully none of your superiors watch BrotoGP.
Shout out to my wife for watching the fucking MotoGP this weekend.
Hell yeah.
She was actually really fucking into it. She was really into it. This is like the best weekend ever for someone who has no idea what's happening to watch. She was asking so many questions, just loving it. So
if you're like this fucking race, you also check out the 800cc era. That was when it was awesome.
Yeah, it was so exciting. I'm like, wait, is he serious? Took me a second.
Oh, we are gifted. We are gifted for sure. All right. Well, okay. So let's start off with your wife's reaction to the grid reshuffle. When I turned on the race. Yeah, right. No, I want to know what she did. When I turned on the race, I turned it on from the no spoiler page, and the like thumbnail for the video on the no spoiler page was Jack Miller in the front, and then 4 rows or 3.5 rows, and then everyone else. And I'm like, well, that's a spoiler for a little bit of shit. Yeah. But so what did she think about that? What did she think about it?
So I had the same thing happen, and I was like, fuck. And I wasn't sure if it was even Jack Miller. So I instantly changed it And then I went to the very beginning and forwarded up through it. And then she watched it. She's like, what the hell is going on, basically? She was just scratching her head. And I had to explain the whole thing. Back at Sash and Ring, they had the 8 riders start from the grid, the pit lane, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, okay. And she's like, well, I guess that makes sense. But she's kind of like, isn't that kind of an advantage to not have to start from the pit once you start? And I'm like, I don't know. It's safety. It's safety. And so she was kind of intrigued by the whole thing, but she was kind of like, fuck, whatever.
It was sweet. It's sweet that you bring up the spoilers, Rob, because Rob and I didn't actually. Of course, the one fucking race we don't watch live, right? Rob is
that we can
at
actually.
a competition, and my phone is exploding, right? So a guy on Instagram actually said, "How many messages did you get about this?" I got 173. If you want to know.
Holy shit!
Across all platforms.
But who's counting?
Right, but who's counting? We asked. So I got to be honest. So I was like, "What in the fuck is going on?" So like, I know that there was this because the last time that happened was like a bunch of random calls and texts about the race was when Simoncelli died. So I'm like, fuck, do I look or do I not look? What's going on? And then I figured like someone would have texted me and said that, you know what I mean? So I'm literally like my Instagram notifications, I have to turn it off so I don't see the little red 129 next to the fucking Instagram, all the messages I'm getting. You know what I mean? I'm just like, so the whole time this on Sunday, I'm coaching people and stuff, and I'm like, what in the fuck is happening? You know, so I ended up literally stopped and did laundry and watched the race in the parking lot of the laundromat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good decision, Kevin.
Bro, I couldn't hold out anymore.
Good decision.
Best decision you ever made.
Best decision I ever made. Pulled into a city parking lot because I couldn't hold out.
The worst thing that can ever happen is you're avoiding all the spoilers all weekend, and then somebody fucking ruins it, and you're like, God damn it, I made it almost back to wherever I had to get to. No.
I made it. I made it through the weekend with only one spoiler. I was at the racetrack on Sunday, and a JD Beach's mechanic was helping out a mutual a friend of ours.
So
and,
Rob's mechanic.
Was mechanicking
so Rob's
for him.
Mechanic. You've never seen
actually
the same place at the same time.
JD
but
same guy.
he had the race going on his phone, and I'm in the garage next to them, and I hear them watching it, and I just distance myself and go talk to someone else, and like 3 or 4 times they scream and they jump up in the air and they're like, ah! And I'm like, holy fuck, and Sai's sitting there next to me. He actually put BrotoGP on so that he didn't have to listen to them, which is pretty awesome. But
did he put on the Kevin Solo episode? I heard that was his favorite episode.
No, he didn't. He
put on
an episode 87, which is the last one.
Okay.
No, and then they go on track. I was taking a lunch break. Yeah, right. They go on track, and the mechanic goes and helps someone else, and he leaves his phone on with the race playing, and there is no one else in the garage. So I had to send Luca over there to turn the volume down so I didn't have to fucking listen to that shit.
Shame.
But no, so I made it. I made it all the way home.
Sure.
You can't leave MotoGP on in a fucking racing paddock on a Sunday. That's just fucking not cool.
No,
you should have
it's just
shit
it's
on his
faux
phone.
pas.
That's what I would have done. I would have grown a tail right on that thing. Schliggity bam. Drop a growler right in it. Clean the screen now.
There were comments about dropping it in like a fuel.
Gorilla ass.
There were comments about dropping in a fuel jug or something and ruining it. No, and then I made it all the way home, and of course I pull up one of the forums, and someone leaves a forum. The title of a thread on the forum was, "Did Rossi crash on purpose?" I'm like, ugh.
Why would you
bastards.
do that? You should know better.
Yeah, it's self-inflicted. It's self-inflicted.
But
all right,
first of all, Rob,
semi-professional.
I texted you. If you're at the track and haven't watched the race, watch it as soon as you can. It's the craziest thing you'll ever see. Avoid media and the internet at all costs. I sent Rob a warning, guys. I was looking out for my homes. Looking out, man.
And I had to rep Riders Law at the track too. I had to go on Instagram, so I'd like go on there and like swipe real fast over to the camera, like put my hand over the home feed so I didn't see anything. Post my shit. Ev almost fucking ruined it for me on Monday because he tagged me in a spoiler post on Instagram or something. That came up.
God damn it! It was Monday. Yeah, it's your bad for not fucking following up by then. You know what?
I fell asleep the second I got home.
Can we get one of like the BrotoGP Army folks to like make a no spoiler shirt? That would be cool.
Why are you just rubbing your nipples there? That was weird.
It was my pectoral region. It was. I'm in the middle right here, like where the logo is.
He's got the MV shirt going on.
Okay,
All
it
right.
looked like he was rubbing his nips.
He did.
I thought he was like Drax and
No, I
Guardians
was in
of
the middle.
Galaxy.
No,
got
I was in the middle.
nipples.
I was on the logo. I was right here, dude. I was here.
Okay.
No nips. The nips are, dude. I got those outward nips. They're out here.
Oh man, your nips are wide. You got fucking fisheye lens nips.
Nip.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
No. All right. All right, guys. Let's get back to the grid reshuffle. So I'm gonna go full on douchebag Rob here.
Right, because Rob literally sends me this fucking message, and it says, I know the rules, so I know exactly what was going on. Rob was basically like, Mike Webb is a fucking idiot. All these fans who think Jack Miller got robbed are dumb shits. Read a rule book once in a while, you fucking uneducated plebes. That's basically exactly what he told me.
That's
close.
Over-exaggerated as that sounds, that was exactly how it came across.
So Rob,
the sentiment was correct.
So we're gonna give Rob the platform right now. Rob has the conch shell. And people get that. Yeah. Okay. So someone got it, and he's gonna explain to us now why we're all fucking stupid.
Yeah, because I don't have the mute button, so I can't just turn you guys off anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
No, okay. So what I was mainly referencing was everyone saying that Jack Miller got robbed and that this whole grid reshuffle was complete bullshit. Like even Ev brought it up, right? He was comparing this race to Sachsenring, which is not the case. Sachsenring, everyone did the warm-up lap and then came back into the pits. That did not happen here. Everyone here had done the sighting lap and was sitting on the grid. When you leave the grid after the sighting lap and go to the pits, you're allowed to take the warm-up lap, and then you must start the race at the back of the grid. If more than one person starts the race at the back of the grid, they have to order up in the order in which they qualified. So that means that if the entire grid but Jack Miller ends up going back into the pits and does the warm-up lap, that means Dani Pedrosa starts in P25 because there are 24 riders on the grid. 25 is where the first open spot. The only thing that was new here that they had to figure out, well, besides the fact they probably had to tell everyone like, hey, go in your qualifying order, the only thing that mattered is there weren't enough spots. There were not 50 grid spots, so they couldn't have everyone line up from P25 on. So essentially they backfilled it, right? The last person on the grid, probably Jorge Lorenzo, started back very last position, and then they made it all the way up until Dani Pedrosa was like, Dani Pedrosa probably started in 18th or something. Was he 18? Actually, 17. Yeah.
It wasn't fair.
So that was it. Wasn't fair. Yeah. So Jack Miller got screwed. He got screwed out of
encroached on 10 spots. Something like that.
Seven spots. Seven spots. So that's 2 rows. So yes, Jack Miller should have had 2 more rows of advantage, but it was not possible on the racetrack. I mean, are we really gonna be pissed off over 40 feet, which is 2 rows?
No, dude. It's what was the race determined by, right? And how far back was he still? It's negligible at the end of the day.
Yeah, dude. No, if Jack Miller would have got those.
The whole anger at it is sort of born of the fact that everyone just wished that all the riders had to stay on the wet tires that they did the sighting lap on, right? Like the idea that Jack Miller correctly called, what he was going to do before. So, he called it shot, so to speak, but there was no warm-up lap yet. It was sighting laps. It didn't matter. But that was like everyone's it was like the secret desire to say, man, Jack Miller would have won that race. Because even if everyone was pushed back farther, if there was an extra 100 grid spots and they actually started at 24 and 25 or whatever,
that was negligible.
Right? Yeah, it's all like the desire to just have seen Jack Miller win that race. And don't get me wrong, I get it. It would have been pretty sweet to see him win that race.
It would also have been boring as fuck if he was the only one on slicks and everyone else started on wet.
And then had to pit. And all
he would have had a 30-second advantage, and that's almost insurmountable in GP. Yes. Now, here's the real question. Why didn't anybody else go out with slicks?
I mean,
because
Jack Miller had the experience from qualifying, so he knew exactly what he would get out of those tires. He's already run 5 laps with slicks on a somewhat wet track.
Why didn't one of the fucking dumbass satellite teams who are there as grid fodder, whatever you want to call it, have gone, oh, well, maybe we should fucking roll the dice and maybe have a shot at winning a race for once? Like, other teams, except for him, Like it's
Small
it's that
testicles.
fluky-
Small
Yeah, it's that
testicles.
flu-
That's
it's
got
that
to be what it
fluky
is.
Yeah, it's the fluky event where you capitalize on it. At least Aprilia or Grassini or no, I'm sorry, not Grassini. Aprilia or
I'll tell you why, because
Argentina.
this
One of those
goes
guys
back.
should have
This
fucking
goes
gone
back
for
to
it.
what I said about Pramac and Jack Miller, and the problem is that like when you're riding the old bike, non-Italian, blah blah, they don't care, right?
Yeah,
All the other
it's true.
teams care about
It's
their
true.
riders.
No, he's right.
Jack Miller's like, I want to run slicks, and they're like, you know,
They're like,
they
you
didn't
do whatever
even
you want,
care.
Jack.
They're smoking
Yeah.
in the back. They're doing whatever. They're, like, if Happy Siren said, I want to run slicks, Herb would have talked him
Like,
out
no.
of it. You know what I mean? Not a bro.
Yeah.
No. Right? Like, if Dovey wanted to run slicks, they would have said, nah, bro, we just got to get it home. You've had a bad weekend.
They would have
Let's
pulled him
just get
aside.
you back top 10 and move on to the next one. But no one pulled Jack Miller aside because they're like, we don't fucking care.
That's
We don't fucking
jackass.
care. You know what I mean?
Well,
Let
and
him do- yeah.
if Marquez would have put on slicks, then Dovey would have saw that. Dovey would have run what Marquez ran because you always match your main competitor.
Right.
But I will amend the question further. Why did no one bring slicks and new springs and a new shock out to the grid and change them the second the rider had made it around on the sighting lap?
Let me ask
Right,
you an
'cause-
even better question. When was the last time you saw a
You just went way
mulleted-
too far.
Hold on. When was the last time you saw a mulleted Australian without a high school diploma and thought, yep, gonna follow his lead?
You know, I was at the airport the other day. Dude, never. With the name
Oh,
Jackass
that was
in
good-
the back of their helmet
good
right
re-
here.
Good rebuttal, Kev.
Yes.
Good rebuttal.
I'm just saying.
Do what that
If you
guy's
sometimes
doing.
you see a guy with a mullet and you're like, all right, he's pulling it off, right? Or sometimes you see an Aussie and you're like, all right, he's a little different, he's cool, but like Chris Hemsworth, right? You're like, okay, I get it.
I like it.
Right? And then
Yeah.
you're like, and then you see some guy who like never graduated high school and you're like, nah, he was ahead of the curve and he wasn't going to get held down by the system and he's going to go on to make great music or something like that. But you start, like the Venn diagram of all those things in the middle is the black hole of Jesus Christ, don't be like this guy no matter what. The dead center of that Venn diagram is like a drunk fat guy in inner tube drinking Foster's outside of Perth somewhere.
Out of a boot.
Out of a boot. Out of a shoe.
Dude, you make a really excellent point, and I think, Rob, I can't believe how technically advanced you took that fucking whole thing. Like, this is MotoGP,
That's
not
the
F1,
thing.
bro. They should be thinking that through, but they just clearly don't fucking have that level of intelligence. It's sad.
Because that's the thing. Like we brought up the one where Stefan Bradl started from the grid and no one else. But what was the downfall of that whole run? He had the
springs.
tires, but not the springs, right? So in the end,
well,
he
got the fork springs in, but he didn't get the shock spring on.
The
No,
compressor
they missed
something.
No, it was like they missed a spacer in one of the fork springs or something. So like, he didn't have the fork springs. It was the team got 80% of the setup right, not the whole thing. So he ended up finishing worse than he normally would have.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the bike change would have made more sense. And I mean, and that's the thing. We've seen that out of the teams before. We know they can change the setup on the grid and they can do it successfully, but they just had to start it right away. Instead, they took their the riders came to the grid. They took their sweet ass time making up their mind. Then they didn't have any time and they had to push the bikes back into pit lane. And then the riders jumped on the other bikes with the dry setups. That was probably also the other thing too, right?
I mean,
they
and
had a bike with a dry setup on it.
We're going to lose 30 followers when I make the statement, but like, how would you have even prepared for that? You would have had to have 3 or 4 setups, like on a sheet of paper with the settings set up.
They do.
And go, all right, we
They
need to
do.
this. But so, dude, that's what I'm saying. How could you?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like,
in
the
how
end-
could you not do it?
in the end, it doesn't matter when all the writers change. Like,
They're all
here's
the
the
same.
big thing. Like,
Yeah.
the fucking show, the television, in the end, it's all about TV rights. And if a bunch of writers just all say, fuck it, we're not going to ride these bikes, there's nothing they can do about it. They're
Sold.
not going to start the race without, in the end, the writers have all the power because enough of them all agreed and they're like, fuck it, we're out. You know what I mean?
That's
and
what
you
I
have to
thought
just go an
happened.
audible and you have to do what you have to do to make the fucking the show go on and to make it work. So they went with, fuck, I don't know. We'll just, we're going to do a restart, and we're going to extend the time of the start to tell everyone what they need to do, because enough people didn't know or chose to say, like, at some point, to make the story make sense, you have to just forget all the established stuff. In this case, it was all the rules. Like, for instance, like in all the Marvel movies coming up, in Thor and in all those movies, they all said like magic is just what you call magic, we call science, right? They did all that stuff. They never called us gods. They were aliens, right? All the Asgardians were aliens. And then Thor Ragnarok comes around and they're like, nah, we're all gods and there's magic and it's fucking dope. They throw all that out the window because it made for a better movie. So they spent like 5 years building up all this stuff about the MCU and how like gods are just aliens and magic is just fucking technology and just advanced and all this stuff. And they're like, no, there's gods and it's dope and we have magic powers and we throw endless fucking knives if our name is Hela and all that stuff. They throw all that out the window because it makes for better. And that's exactly what fucking Dorna did. They're like, all that backstory shit that we spent years building, fuck it. Because we got to have a dope show right here, right now.
Well, and you bring up a good one. I actually was, kind of going back to it. I mean, when you saw the spoiler of the grid and then you tried to figure out what was happening, I honestly thought the writers were boycotting because of safety. That was my first thing.
Your first impression?
Yeah, well, because
that's an interesting first impression.
Fucking Moto America
says rain delayed based on safety. I'm like, all the guys are in the garage except for one guy. And Miller's like laughing. He's like, oh, these fucking pussies. I'm going to fucking go be an Aussie and let's do this. Like, then they could, and even the commentator said, we can't figure out what just happened or what's happening. And so
they didn't know the rules.
I just assumed, well.
Yeah, fucking assholes. Fucking dumb shits.
Dude, look at Rob. Bravo.
I mean, I still have the best.
Guys, this message, it's so, I know you can't tell tone on the internet, but it was so stone cold delivered. It was just like, I wasn't confused. I know the rules. I know the rules. I know.
It was pretty good, man.
I've never seen someone outwardly brag about memorizing and studying a rule book before. I mean, this was
because it's never happened.
Alert. Right. Exactly.
It's never happened before. I tried it that one time, I think at Qatar, where a few of the Moto2 riders, or the Moto2 teams didn't know the quick restart procedure, and they had to start from pit lane or from the back of the grid or whatever. But I didn't get it back then. I got it this time. Full on.
It was a high level of arrogance. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I really I really wanted Rob to invoke and like give in to his inner douchebagness for this episode, but look at the guy. Look at him.
Just couldn't do it.
The bun's not high enough.
Do it. The bun, like, on
the top.
It fell down.
On the top.
Yeah, he's got the bun. He has the perfect skin. He doesn't have a single hair on his face whatsoever. He's carved from fucking porcelain. Look at Rob. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body.
I shave the morning every time we record because we're on video now. You gotta do that shit.
What?
Yeah. My facial hair just looks terrible if I let it go.
Kevin needs to get the fucking mustache going again though.
You want to grow a stash back?
Yes, you had a fucking caterpillar on your lip.
It's still on our website, I think.
I think it is. That picture's so old.
Your girlfriend might shoot me later, but
nah, she doesn't care.
Yeah.
When you date an Italian, you are accepting the fact that on occasion mustaches appear. This is how
would it affect your BJJ? You're gonna get like elbows across the face would not hurt as much?
Yeah, I don't think it would matter too much. Yeah.
I thought he was gonna leave out like one Jenna or something. I'm like, what's happening?
One time I was doing a tournament and this guy rolled up and I'm like, look at that guy's fucking stash. It was straight Tom Selleck status. I'm like, what the fuck? That guy's stash is epic. And I was kind of like snickering at it, blah, 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 blah. And then homeboy next to me is like, hey, bro, that guy's fucking blind. And he was. Fucking dude was blind. I've been talking shit about a blind dude for like 5 straight minutes. Just
wait.
Him.
You were talking shit.
I was just killing him on this stash. I'm like, what in the fuck,
Kev.
man? You gotta come up like you gotta be more hard. You gotta like, I mean, you don't have to like front, but you gotta like have some swag and look like have a look and feel like you're gonna fucking. This guy's just got like cops 1980 fucking 4 and fucking, you know, they're down in Fort Lauderdale fucking, you know what I mean, like
God.
Florida episode where shit was on Channel 5, local access, just bam, right across the front. And I'm like, man, what's up with that guy? I'm just like killing this dude. And it turns out he's fucking blind.
I love how Kev. I think he's still blind, and you're still talking shit about him.
No, fuck.
Oh, man, he might.
No, actually, man, he was a dope because he went on to win like a 40-man bracket like a boss.
Wow, that's fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
he deserves that
winning the whole
stash.
thing.
That's the swagger. That's the swagger.
I mean, you
The
don't need
swag-
to
All
say
right,
that.
so
yeah.
let's move on. Let's move on. We got a little off topic here. So we got some more shenanigans to talk about before the race actually started here.
Yes.
Right. So this one I cannot go full on arrogant about the regulations here because I looked through the rule book and this isn't clearly defined.
Dude, what do you do with your free time?
Notice the humble brag that Rob just did. I can't be a total asshole because there's nothing in the rule book about what you should do. Ha ha ha. I know.
I looked.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So Marc Marquez stalls his bike on the grid after the warm-up lap. He then proceeds to bump start it. I thought he got it on the second attempt, which was pretty damn quick. That doesn't usually happen.
Right.
He practices that shit in his free time. That's what he does in his free time.
He definitely does. He definitely does. He's crashed enough times, and crashed under the motorcycle and had everything just perfect that he's bump started it many, many times. But no, so then two guys run out onto the track. One guy gets out there first and tries to pull Marquez off the grid. Another dude follows him and gives a thumbs up to the first guy. The announcers claimed that the second guy was Mike Webb, who is the race director, who has full control over the start procedure. But usually Mike Webb is the guy that presses the red button to start the race. So I don't think that was Mike Webb. Unless the button was like right next to the wall or something.
This is like an X-File.
Yeah. But so Marc Marquez pulls away. Marc Marquez then pulls away from the first dude, rides his motorcycle backwards on the track, gets back into his grid spot,
rides the bike backwards.
And he's like sideways.
Yeah, and he doesn't make it in the spot. He's got to do like a 4-point turn, 5-point turn, and he gets back into his spot. And then right as they do that, the red lights go on and the red lights go off. I'm surprised he even got the thing into well, of course, it was already in gear because he rode it backwards on the track.
My favorite part of it wasn't that he stalled the bike or that he bumped it or he waved off the technical directors and just rides backwards. Is that like
no, I'm good.
8 spots back, Maverick's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, yeah. He's like, what the fuck
Come on,
happening?
man.
Like, and Maverick is so salty about it that on Instagram, go look at any random picture of this happening, and bro has fucking commented about how he should have been black flagged, right? Like, and there's literally pictures like he's riding around and Maverick is like, what in the fuck is happening up there? And Jack Miller's like looking backwards like, fucking come on.
You gotta be kidding me.
So,
Jack Miller had to have been thinking the whole last 2 hours, like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, right. He was sitting there for 40 minutes by himself and then more shit happens.
Right.
I wonder if he even knew that was going on. But all right, here's the two sentences in the rule book. Here's the 2 sentences in the rule book. Any rider who stalls his engine on the grid or who has other difficulties must remain on the motorcycle and raise his N arm. It is not permitted to attempt to delay the start by any other means. That's fucking it. There's no like if he gets it restarted, he can go back. There's no if he starts the race, he must be black flag. None of that shit. The rest of it is all up to the race director, Dorna, Urta, the GPC to impose a penalty. They fucking imposed a penalty and it was a ride through. Except it wasn't. Right? The penalty wasn't for...
Wasn't it?
No, the penalty was for riding backwards on the track. It wasn't for ignoring the get the fuck off the track.
Right. Yeah, he literally broke more than one rule in that exact moment. He stalled his bike, tried to start it, and couldn't on the first bump. From there, he should have stuck his hand up and said, stalled bike. Any idiot club racer learns this at NRS the first thing because every idiot club race has a guy who stalls his bike.
Yeah.
So you don't get fucking hit. in the middle of it, I'm stalled and go, or they get him off the grid. He ignores it, bumps it a second time, rides backwards. He broke literally multiple rules, and there's guys out there. And again, I wasn't hearing what they were saying, but the announcers were interpreting it the same way everyone else was, which was, bro, get the fuck off the track. No, you can't get back. You can't ride around and restart. But, like, what do? You know what I mean? You can't just, like, have these bikes sitting there continuing to run while you argue with this guy to get off the track. But he literally broke multiple rules in just that one event.
Yeah,
I mean,
Simon,
a few.
All right, Simon Crafar.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I feel like
Rob, hello, Rob. So basically, what the rule book states is that you can't ride backwards on the track, bro. So what is happening is that once in 1973, when I was racing, I saw something similar, and the guy was like, "Oh," but then like. Y'all saw that part where he started saying and they just cut him off and didn't say anything.
So
we'll talk about that later.
We were texting about that too. It was I think it was, I hate to derail off the syllabus, but like there's so much other better shit this week, thank God. But he was still ungodly bad. It was just fucking atrocious.
He was better. He was better than last week.
Not, Rob,
he was better. You know what? There was one
I'm yelling.
There was one point.
Rob, let me tell you something. If you took a
hold on,
and there was a bunch of blood in it, you'd be like, dang, I got to do something. But just in case you didn't change anything and you shit the next day and there was no blood, you wouldn't be like, okay, cool, the diarrhea was still there, but there was no blood. Fuck, I'm on the ups. Moving on up to the side.
Hey, we're improving. Dude, it was
right.
bad,
actually,
Rob.
that's
what are you talking
actually that's
just
kind of what I.
There's no blood in your diarrhea doesn't mean your diarrhea is an improvement over correct bowel function.
Rob, go watch it again. We talk about not doing pauses. He paused for like 3 seconds. It was so. Then he's like,
he does.
Yeah. So about those tires or something. It was just like,
so
where the fuck,
I don't want to stick on Simon too much, but I'm gonna say this: as bad as everything was, he correctly said that because of this event, Marc Marquez is gonna ride like a shithead and throw the race away. Oh my God, did we not know that he was basically Simon Crafar John the Baptist and was predicting the fucking, you know what I mean? Jesus
the prophet.
Christ. Right.
Yeah. I mean,
no, he had one other good point during the grid reshuffle. The other two announcers were talking about taking Jack Miller off the grid, and he said something like, well, I've seen what happens when they try and take Aussies out of the bar.
Yeah, exactly. What happens? You try to jack off Aussies out of the bar? That ain't fucking balling. You can't be jacking off Aussies.
No.
Do that at your own risk, son.
Shit. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so, like, this guy, like, and here's the problem, because Aron Canet legitimately physically he took another rider out, endangered him, torpedoed the dude, and there was zero consequences. So Marc Marquez, who's faced zero consequences his whole career, basically was like, they ain't doing shit this weekend. Fuck it. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, and that's basically what Marc Marquez lives his life fucking by.
Yeah. I mean, what would have been the actual consequences if they pull him into the pit lane? He still gets to start the race. He just has to start it from pit lane. He probably would have lost less time by starting from pit lane
and
than
been
the actual
less
ride through.
Mad. You know what I mean? Like we
Yep,
saw that was the
off.
fucking nastiest red mist I ever seen. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like
it
that, it was as bad as it gets. And I think that if he would have been more like head focused, like I got to get back out there because there was just an accident with the bike, not like they're punishing me, right? Like you know how upset someone gets when they think their back is against the wall. You know what I mean?
Right. Kev, I had to explain what red mist was to my wife.
What?
No, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, that was it for reals, though. I mean, that was the best example you could have seen. If you could have explained it, here it is.
Yeah. I'm like, no, you actually have to explain it. It's like, no, it's this like syndrome where she didn't still connect all the dots because then it was like incident. But
I would say it's classically a male syndrome, red mist.
Oh
So,
shit! What?
Yeah, I could understand. I could understand that it would be a hard concept for your wife to understand.
It's
Yo,
2018, bro.
let's be real here for a second.
You can't
Ross.
take gender.
Dudes get mad, but let's not act like bitches don't get mad. Chicks be crazy. You want to see red mist? I'm gonna have Danielle text you right now, and you can have while Luca holds your phone. We're gonna see some red mist, son. Get Luca in here right now. Luca.
Oh, I'm glad
yeah.
she doesn't watch these all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Christina. On that note, Christina really wants to watch it after this. After she watched the race, now she wants to watch the podcast. I'm kind of nervous.
I've seen Luca's red mist on the fucking grid when I was like a half a step behind her, bringing your fucking tire wagon to the grid. She looked at me like I was like 8 years old, and she was the fucking first grade teacher. I didn't turn my homework in. You motherfucker.
I told her, make sure you're on these guys to do their shit at Laguna. Someone's got to hold that umbrella, pull those tire warmers off. Dennis follow directions.
Yes,
dude. I just
she's cracking whips, son.
Yeah.
The first lady.
That's what you got to do.
First lady.
That's what the team owners got to do. That shit, you know.
And that's, you know what, and the team owner thing, that brings up a good point. Like when Canet's team, posted that response and the press release thing is involved in incident, or when like Mark Marquez's team said this and that, like that's their job, is to have your homies back. You fucking ride or die, son. You are getting paid to support that rider. Yeah, exactly. One love. And if you are getting paid to support that rider and that's your job, it doesn't matter if they were 100% in the wrong. Like it's me and Rob's and Ez's job to talk hellish shit when you're wrong, but it's fucking your team's job to have your back no matter what.
Yep, and they totally went there. I mean, shit. Let's bring this back to Mark Marquez and close him out a little bit with stalling that shit on the grid. We gotta get to lap 1 at least a little bit. What do you want to? How do you want to close this one out? I mean, for me, this actually. One point that we hadn't brought up yet, one of our fans on Instagram or probably in the Facebook group brought up the fact that there are two rule books depending on who you are on the grid, right?
Yep.
It seems like Mark Marquez obviously got the lenient rule book with being able to take his grid spot back, them not just like delaying the start and putting him into the pits. It seemed like that thumbs up from someone there, might have been Mike Webb, is the one that enabled it.
In fairness, that shit all happened so fast, and it had taken so long to get that race going, and then he did get it in the grid spot. I think they were just like, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, but it was the fuck it kind of came before he even had turned around backwards, right? That's when the thumbs up was when he was.
He just did it. He put the bike there, and nobody ran out there and was like, stop.
I mean, how many
like,
times?
That's what should have happened.
Here's the thing. When the grid reshuffle thing happened, that was a major issue that they handled pretty well on the fucking fly with no real precedence. At some point you fucking blew your load. I mean, he blew his load and busted his nut on making on the fly dope decisions to maintain television status. And then like that happens again. You can't just go again, son. You got to get warmed up. There's no fluffer or nothing. You can't just dive right back in. I think the dude's just exhausted. He just literally reshuffled the entire grid, like satisfied basically all the teams for the most part, got the best possible result that you could have got out of that, and then on top of it, the fucking reigning champion with the biggest sponsor in the series, who's Spanish and also like that, fucking fucks this shit up right on the grid. Fuck.
Yeah, it's cool.
I feel like
fuck, I don't fucking
know. He's like, we're good. He's good. He's
like, fuck, yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
just big thumbs up. Big thumbs up.
Yeah, so that's why I refute the Spanish rule book versus the everyone else rule book. I think it all just happened so fast. Hindsight's 2020. We can all criticize, but dude, he tried, and then Marquez fucking just got on the grid, and guess what? It kind of worked out, and you're like, fuck it, he got on, he bumps her in, let's go.
Well, he probably was no,
it worked out.
Go, and Marquez is like, no, and it's like, okay, shithead, we're just gonna give you a ride through.
He's like, no, we're good.
Yeah, all right,
dude.
You know what I mean?
We just gotta go through the rule book and find what exactly we can penalize you for.
This is the thing, though. They can penalize anyone for anything they fucking want if they really want to. You know what I mean? Like in the end, isn't there like a little star at the bottom that says race direction has ultimate authority to enforce rules at their discretion? We can make shit up.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All they have to do is invoke the word safety, and they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Safety,
Right,
son.
yeah.
Get off the track.
Rider message, please.
Oddly enough, never actually did that when safety was an issue.
I know, right?
Shocker.
They use it for non-safety things. I mean,
not
I think if we went
to go to Ev's 2 rule book scenario, it's not Spanish and everyone else or Rozzy and everyone else. There's 2 rule books. There's the rule book, and then there's the rule book when TV time is pressed. Okay, like that's
Yeah.
the actual rule book that takes
That's
place.
right.
The fucking almighty dollar. Or
Well,
if
it's,
you're
the
Homer
rule book
Simpson
and when
in
the
season
bottom
7,
line.
the almighty aller. I don't get it.
I don't
You're
remember that
Fuck,
episode.
what the fuck? That was the end
That's
of the
the
Mad
first-
Magazine fold out with Bart and Homer, man. And it was the almighty. It was like the almighty dollar. It was the question was like, what god do religions truly fucking serve?
Rob,
and then Homer
we'll
tried to
Really?
do it. And read it
Really?
Man,
Wow.
I'm disappointed, Rob.
I
Because
gotta
I
follow that
only-
one.
I only make these obscure Simpsons references for you.
You know what? One of my friends just got a new tattoo on her leg, and it's just a cool Millie with fucking
Nice,
Millhouse
let's go.
with his glasses on top of his head and the glue in his hair pulling it
Yeah.
back.
Right.
Yeah, great tattoo. Fucking
I
love
want to
that
get
shit.
Mel Pool signed on my leg. Yeah. Someone gets it. You know, I've
Awesome.
often actually wanted to get a Krusty the Clown tattoo because he's my favorite character on the show, but I could never
really?
figure out a way it would be cool.
It all makes sense.
Yeah, Krusty.
It
It'd have
all
to be
makes
like
sense.
ironic
I'm not
or something.
surprised. I'm so not
No.
surprised. Dude,
All
it
right,
should
that
be
would
like
be-
Krusty,
that would-
It should be like Krusty's head right on your fucking whole back.
Right.
It would be your least cool tattoo, Kev, probably by
Yeah.
far. I haven't
I
seen
got
all
some-
of them, but
I got some uncle. You haven't seen all of them, Rob. You have not got me that drunk.
Title Rob sex tape.
oh man.
Have you even seen
So-
that?
so-
Boom. What?
to
I
round
got
out
kitty
the grid stalling procedure and the penalty and stuff, I feel like 20% of the time, 10 to 20% of the time someone stalls on the grid, they're able to restart and take their spot. Right? It's only like in Moto 2 when they have a lot of trouble, or in Moto 3 when those tiny little kids can't push start the bike that they get pulled off the grid.
Right.
Like this
I don't know,
there is
man.
precedent for someone taking their spot even though they stalled on the grid. That's why it's not written in the rule book that you must get off and
He was supposed to go to the pit lane.
otherwise.
They tried to usher him over
Yeah.
there. He fucking bucked it. He's like, no, I'm
It's
gonna bump it. I'm
not
back.
written in the rule book that you must get off. Is the most appropriate title of Rob's sex tape I think I've ever heard. I think Rob has used that term in other contexts multiple times. Hey, it's not in the rule book that you must get off.
Oh no.
I didn't
All right,
see it.
all right.
Show
We're
me,
moving on.
Show me.
We're moving on.
Yeah,
We're moving on then.
exactly. Show me.
I don't
So
see it.
let's
It's not.
Yeah,
it's
Rob,
not-
so we're-
Rob is like, this. My rule book only says that the race has to start, not that it's got to
Oh, boy.
fucking finish.
Damn, dirty.
Let's do lap one.
Salty.
Speaking of that.
Right. Okay, so after all this nonsense of qualifying, and Jack Miller runs the fucking lap of his life, and he's flying off the bike, he's near the high side, and he gets pole. And then we see the craziest grid restart we've seen in years. They reshuffle the grid. Mark stalls his bike. He rides backwards. He ignores race direction. He gets back on. Everyone's like, fuck it. That's the craziest shit that's going to happen. Let's get this race started. And the fucking lights drop.
Not even
Nope.
close.
That wasn't the craziest shit that happened.
Nope.
So lap one already. We've got bikes making room to get through on people. Plenty of people going offline, which we know you don't do in a race when the track is wet and you're on slicks, especially the first lap and you've been sitting on the grid for too long. So poor Dani Pedrosa is our first point.
My man.
We already brought him up a little bit earlier.
Hold
It
on,
has
man.
since come out.
I gotta pour one out for Danny. I gotta pour one out for Daniel San.
Yo, dude, pour some in mine. Pour some in mine, bro.
Yeah, are you
Like,
out?
Mine's empty.
Oh, fuck.
Mine's empty, bro.
He is.
I'm
He's
in the
empty.
hotel, man. I got to go back down to the bar.
Look,
Dude,
how many times
Danny made
can this
Danny's
happen
bet.
to Danny?
Yeah.
7, 8. Yeah, it's the numbers. The numbers are way up there. It's terrible.
But the Lilliputian.
So Danny is riding fucking Zarco, who also obviously had a great qualifying, comes in hot, stuffs him up the inside, going into a right-hander.
Title Rob
Sex Tape, stuffs him up on the inside, and pushes Danny offline. Danny comes off, and the announcers even said, "Whoa, that was a cheeky pass." They probably thought that was the cheekiest thing they were going to see. That
it was clean.
Danny goes offline, hits a wet patch as he's on the gas, and high-sided to fucking Saturn, son. Straight up. He's chilling with Matt Damon on Mars. They're growing potatoes with broken wrists out of their own shit or something
Rob,
like
you didn't
that.
get the
I don't know. And it's done. Bro. What in the fuck? He fucking breaks his wrist. It's done. And Zarco gave no fucks. And Zarco was like, shit, I'm going to get black flagged. Everyone's going to be talking about this. Everyone's going to be going on about what I did. Oh, luckily for Zarco, that was not the case.
I had to explain to Christina what a racing incident was.
Tell us about that.
Ev, why don't you explain to me right now, Kevin, who's never watched a race before, doesn't know what MotoGP is, and saw some highlights on Instagram recently from this funny page, BrotoGP, at BrotoGP, and decided that this looks like an interesting sport I will follow. What is a racing incident, Mr.
That
Ev?
is just comedy. All right, so for the novice,
the uninitiated,
for the yellow plates,
the greenhorns, to MotoGP, it's a racing incident is an aggressive incident, but it's not illegal, it's not wrong, it's not anyone's fault. It is part of racing. And when you show somebody a wheel like Zarco did with Dani Pedrosa, that's a racing incident because Danny had every opportunity to correct. He pushed wide. He simply made the mistake. So there's absolutely zero blame on Zarco. He put his wheel in the place where he should have because it's an aggressive sport and did what he should have been doing, which is a racing incident.
What Ev is saying is that Danny was married to that corner, but Zarco moved on him like a bitch anyway, and by presidential decree, that shit is legal and good to go.
Yeah, Danny's line was pretty wide. I'm waiting for Rob's technical version, but Danny's line was pretty wide. And when Zarco saw the opening, he took it, and he gave him fair game to see the wheel. Danny saw him there. He went wide. He just went wide into the wet spot and then high-sided. And that's a racing incident.
He went wide into the wet spot.
I know. I tried. I tried to wordsmith that just right so you could use it.
Here. I got another one for you, Kev.
I'm going to break here.
I got another one. The hole that Zarco was going for was just a little bit smaller than expected.
Fuck, that's how Zarco does, son. That's how he does.
It was a significant hole, actually. It was a gaping hole.
What? It was a gaping.
No, but it closed down quickly, though. It closed down quickly. So there was to Ev's point about a full-on racing incident and about there being no fault to Zarco. There was comments that there was no contact between the two. So Danny,
you are saying that the hole winked at him, and Zarco meant that he saw the hole, it winked a little bit, and he took that as the sign, and it was the wrong sign, and he paid the price.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah,
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
But
Selfish.
Dani Pedrosa stood the bike up and he was fine. Unfortunately, the track was wetter out there, right? Like
and
he crashed
it was
not
moister.
Specifically because of Zarco's contact. Yes, it was moist.
I think it's word.
No.
I'm going with it, dude.
All right, you're going with it.
Just own it.
Just fucking run with it.
I mean, seriously, but that's what's kind of sad is that Danny's been doing this for how long, and he just fucking whacked the throttle open. Like,
he didn't whack the throttle open. He went to the throttle. He didn't go to the throttle even as hard as he went to the throttle in Aragon when Marquez took out his traction control wire or his wheel speed sensor, right? Like, no, he barely touched the throttle and the thing came around. That's what Jack Miller said during qualifying is the one time he tiny bit touched the throttle and almost bucked off the bike. That's what happens.
You know what?
And the real question is if they didn't make contact and there was at least some opening, does your ability to make the pass, is it mitigated by track conditions? You know, because Danny, they didn't look like they had contact, or maybe it was a very small amount and almost like a racing incident because that kind of block pass or berm pass isn't like unheard of. But Danny got 2 feet offline and then that rear end came around completely and got launched.
Danny, two things. One, Danny shouldn't have fucking been there. He should have been at the front of the fucking race and not put himself in that position, first and foremost. Second of all, Danny should have left the fucking door open because, and Danny knows, I'll bet you $50 if you could get a hold of him and ask him the question, who's at fault? He'll be like, I'm at fault. He'll own that shit.
I mean, I do think he's going to own it. And yeah, I don't think the track conditions really can be blamed for, or like take into account here, right? The fact that the pass was aggressive, but I actually, and Kev, I wouldn't call it a berm pass. Like, I don't think that Zarco, Zarco didn't go super wide, right? He took the line, but he stayed on line after that. It's not like he forced Danny into the water.
Right.
It's just once they hit or didn't hit, Zarco's was still on line. Dani Pedrosa went wide because he had to pick the bike up to not make further contact. What
is Everett doing?
Ev's getting really close to his camera here. We can't keep explaining.
I'm looking at the Kev
This is still a podcast. We can't keep explaining the visuals to people that are listening to iTunes.
They gotta watch the YouTube.
Or you can switch to YouTube. It's growing.
Two other ideas. We should poll our resident pro riders, Carl and Josh Heron, and see what they think about that incident.
I mean, here's the thing: is that damn, I totally lost my train of thought there. I mean, it's not like Zarco is a hard rider. He makes some nasty passes. He does make contact. But, I mean, this is not unheard of for Danny again. The guy continues to weigh 115 pounds. He continues to be too light for the bike, too light for Michelin's traction. He continues to really not make those changes. I mean, again, I've said this a million times, and I like Danny. I'm not hating on Dani Pedrosa. I root for him, and nothing would make me happier than to see Danny win the title. But there's two reasons we're talking about this. One, because he got hurt, because this guy continues to not build his frame up in any way. Again, he looks like the same guy when he started. Why hasn't this guy packed on 20 pounds of muscle? If we know that his size is a detriment to riding the Michelins, he can afford a personal trainer. He can afford some fucking creatine. He can afford some branched chain aminos, and he could lift 4 days a week and fucking swell up a little bit. That shit builds your bone structure. It builds your musculature. It builds all the connecting tendons, cartilage, all that. This guy has been plagued by injuries his entire career for being too delicate. And he's getting older. He seems to do nothing about it. It boggles my mind that Danny isn't fucking jacked right now. I mean, swole and vascular and fucking big, because he'd still only be like 130 pounds. If Danny slapped on 20 pounds of lean muscle in a year, he'd still only be a bantamweight at 135. The other thing is if what Marquez went on to do in the race didn't become such a lightning rod for controversy, because the real reason a lot of people are talking about this is because whataboutism. All of Twitter, all of Instagram, all of Facebook.
Whataboutism.
Everyone is covered by whataboutism, which is that all of these fucking Marquez dick riding lovers who fucking worship the ground this guy walks on and he can do no wrong. Their number one answer is, what about Zarco? Why aren't you talking about Zarco? How come not Zarco? Well, first of all, two things, fucking shitheads. We are talking about Zarco. I posted a picture about Zarco. Zarco only did one thing this race, not six. That's the other thing. And again, that Zarco wasn't penalized doesn't mean that Marc Marquez in the future shouldn't have been. It only means that perhaps, Zarco should have been, because he did in the end do a move that caused injury to a rider. And then Rob said, in the name of safety, anything goes. But I mean, the real reason we're spending so much time talking about Zarco and Danny is to fucking silence all the fucking critics who are going to be like, I don't want to fucking, what about Zarco? What about Dani Pedrosa? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like Superbike Planet, the headline is, where's the outrage? It's like, dude, there's no outrage,
You
man.
still visit that website? You still visit that website?
Not often. I just want to go see what they were saying. But, that's
terrible.
the point. That's
terrible.
the point, though. But hold on. That's the point, though, is that, Rob, how do you feel? It's a racing incident? Clean and clear, good to go? 100%.
100%. If someone made that, if I was in Dani Pedrosa's position and someone made that pass on me, I'd be like, fuck, man, I wish I would have
I left
just
it open.
went
Yeah.
a little straighter or closed the line. It would never be like, fuck Zarco. And I mean, Zarco, excuse me, Zarco apologized somewhat,
Sure,
right? He was
sure.
was sad that Danny got hurt. He didn't say
Yeah,
that he was
exactly.
sad that he made the move. He was sad that of the consequences.
Yeah, he was
That's
sad
my
at the
point.
outcome, not the move itself, but about the unintended consequences.
And that's my point.
Exactly.
That I can get behind. Oh, fuck, sorry, bro. I did not mean to do that. I didn't do anything wrong, but I didn't mean to do that.
I
that is
didn't
not
want
what I
that
meant.
outcome. Yeah, I didn't want that outcome. But that's the hard part is that's what I think I'm trying to convey, and I don't know if we even explained it right, is for the average fan who doesn't really understand this nuance and has never raced a day in their life, it is what's called a racing incident. Shit fucking happens when you're racing fucking motorcycles at those speeds. And you're there to win. You're not there to get second place and sit behind a guy. If he leaves the door open, you take it, and where the cards fall, they fall.
Yeah, and I mean, and like we said, there is some shared blame in the outcome, right? Because it maybe Dani Pedrosa did get on the throttle a little hard. He could have went straighter and kind of went straight over the water and turned a little bit later because he high-sided before he was at the edge of the track.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
plenty of room still left there.
He was in that really wet line, and then he was trying to get back on line. That's why he tried to square it off, and it didn't work. And then he
Yeah, exactly. So just tiny little changes by both the riders would have mitigated the whole situation if necessary.
But
guys,
to Ev's point, this is exactly what we're saying. Again, I wouldn't visit Superbike Planet if you stuck a gun to my head. I mean, Superbike Planet can eat a giant pile of nasty herpes-infested dicks. Straight up, if you're listening to this show and you click on Superbike Planet, fucking kill yourself. That's
find better news sources.
Right.
Find better news sources.
Me wasted off my ass in podcasts is more reliable information. Me lying on purpose while drunk is more fucking reliable than that shitty ass site that no one gives a fuck about, and I hope they all fucking go bankrupt and live in a van down by the river on a steady diet of government cheese. Right? But no one would be, I mean, the Zarco story wouldn't even be a story realistically if it wasn't for the fact that this entire section of the fan base is trying to use this to clear like any wrongdoing from what Marquez did later in the race, because we basically have multiple factions of race fans. But the hardcore Marc Marquez fans who are also hardcore anti-Rossi fans are just as bad as the weirdly hardcore Rossi fans who are hardcore anti-Marquez. Marquez was 100% in the wrong, and what they're trying to say right now is don't talk about that. Talk about this other guy that might have been wrong. And that's what I mean by whataboutism. You see it in politics like crazy. I'm not going to get into politics, but you see this on every fucking comment, on every fucking thread, no matter what. If it's a fucking Trump thing, you see what about her emails. And if it's a Democratic thing, you say what about Russia collusion. No matter what happens, no one wants to talk about the wrongdoing if there's some kind of distraction of similar or resembling wrongdoing. And the point is that what Zarco did, me, Evan, Rob can sit here and talk about whether he should be penalized or not. That conversation that's happening here isn't the conversation over here about Valentino and Marquez and the start and all that stuff and Alicia Spargo.
That's a whole different shit.
Just like Alicia Spargo deciding to talk a bunch of shit about Danilo Petrucci today on Twitter doesn't have anything to do with what fucking Zarco and Dani did, and it's not.
Nope.
Dude,
oh man,
that's like a beta in a fishbowl, like
right. And the problem comes down to this is like this. I mean, first of all, this was fucking amazing, right? Because the fallout from this race, I feel like the series is secretly starting to gain our influence, right? Like Peter Baelish started the War of the Five Kings and Robert's Rebellion, and it was all the chaos for him. I feel like finally, after 88 episodes and thousands of posts and tens of thousands of followers, that we are disseminating our trickle-down fucking influence onto GP, and we are making these fucking dudes insane. And this is the first example you're starting to see, is this race is turning all the fans insane and all the fucking racers insane. And I fucking love it.
I love it so much.
It's so much.
It's so
One
good.
star reviews and 5-star reviews. That's all we're getting from here on
Right,
out.
exactly. We just turned the drama up to 11, son.
Yeah. Fan the flames, Dorna. Fan the flames.
Right.
All right, guys. It's been a little over an hour here, and I think we have way too much left on the syllabus to keep going this time.
Yeah, fan the
There's
flames,
too much.
guys. Fan the flames. Because what happened
Fan
at the
the
beginning
flames.
of this race? We saw Aron Canet take guys out. We saw Jack Miller get a spectacular pole. We saw Marquez fucking stall his bike, go backwards. We saw Johan Zarco take out Dani Pedrosa. And that's just the first fucking lap, son. So stay tuned because this shit is to be continued.